Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
In case you haven't figured it out, let me kind of lay this out for you a little bit. Democrats have chosen Muslims over Americans, socialism over democracy, communism over capitalism, criminals over police, illegal aliens over us, the citizens of America, and atheism over Almighty God. How true. Here comes Kate Smith, and God Bless America, followed by a patriot to call in with our Pledge of Allegiance. Come on, good morning, good morning. And a good morning to you on what is going to be, I'm going to hear from Scotty in just a minute about the weather, but I think it's going to get a little wet out there. Zeb at the Ranch, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, very safe, clean environment, and the best in tires. You stop in and see them today, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Along with our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And Greystone Crossing Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Right now, it is time for our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I thank you, sir. I know who this is, and I appreciate your taking the time. God bless. Call back in a little bit later. Thank you. And right now, that's the way to start off the program. Right now, let's go to the weather forecast. And K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn bring you the weather. And they also bring you the best tools and equipment for any kind of a job that you need to do. Construction projects, or you're working on the garden or the lawn. They've got all the power rakes and all the garden and lawn equipment, the rototillers, they've got it all. Absolutely. If you're not sure what you need, it's so easy. Just call them up and say, hey, well, I'm doing this and I don't know what I need. 678-3122. Call Roger and the crew today at K&R Rental. Right now, here's Scottman with the weather.
Going to be a little bit wet. Good morning with your Zeb of the Ranch weather forecast. I'm Scotty Cameron. Yes, rain today, a high of 54 tonight. Rain at night, clearing off by in the morning, a low of 38. Mostly sunny for tomorrow, a high of 65. Now for tomorrow night, 50% chance of rain, a low of 41. And then for Friday, 50% chance of rain, a high of 53. Clearing off Friday night, partly cloudy with a low of 34. Slight chance of thunderstorms on Saturday with a high of 59. And then Sunday, sunny and 67. That's your Zeb at the Ranch weather forecast. Have a great day.
Thank you, Scotty. I appreciate your help. 43 degrees outside the Zeb at the Ranch studio, and the weather brought to you by K&R Rental. They are located at 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn, right there on the Burley-Paul Highway. You couldn't miss them. No, don't miss them. You be sure and give them a call or stop in. K&R Rental, 678-3122. Caller, I promise I'll be right there with you. Stand by. I want to remind everybody quickly about two great businesses, and one is a welcome back, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Number to call, 678-0459. They're open 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday, and I'm very proud to have had them on the program ever since the get-go. I mean, when we started, they were one of our very first, if not the first, sponsors and advertisers. Ramsey Heating and Electric, in business for almost 7 decades, serving you with all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs. Call them, 678-0459. Open 7:30 to 5, Monday through Friday. Ramsey Heating and Electric. This just, honestly, makes me feel so doggone good. Denny's restaurant with my dear friend Thomas and Michelle and the rest of the staff. They are open, social distancing inside, hours 7 to 9, Sunday through Thursday, 7 to 10, Friday and Saturday, 611 North Overland in Burley. And you know the menu is fantastic. You know about the strawberry crepes. You know about the Parmesan chicken. You know about all the breakfast skillets. You know about all the great burgers and pancakes and everything else. And they're back serving you. Let's support them. Let's all get in there. Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. Yep, it's America's Diner. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. This is the Sugar Cookie Express.
Keith, I can hear you barely, and God bless you, man. The phone is cutting out, and I wanted to thank you anyway on the air. You're wonderful. Hold on just a second. Let me say this. Your wonderful wife dropped off the sugar cookies this morning. Thank you so much, Nancy. God bless you.
Yeah, you know, the popularity of her sugar cookies are, if it keeps growing, we're going to have armored car delivery.
Well, I tell you what, I'll be the shotgun rider up on the top of the seat. I'll guarantee you, she does a great job, and I love her dearly for what she's done. Thank you, Nancy, and thank you, Keith. God bless you. And I know you're driving, so drive carefully.
My wife's driving, so I feel safe.
Well, okay, as long as I know she's a pretty good chauffeur. She got you all the way back from Las Vegas to home, so I respect that.
She can do anything.
All right.
She is miraculous.
Well, Keith, I want to say thank you to both of you, and good luck at your appointment this morning. I hope all goes well. God bless you, and be sure and call us tomorrow morning and let us know how everything is, if you would, please.
Sure will.
All right, my friend.
Good day.
All right, sir. Thank you. That was so nice. They dropped off a plate of sugar cookies. You know, that's my weakness. I'm telling you. I've been like that since I was a little boy. You go by me with a sugar cookie, you better have a tight hold of that plate. I don't like them frosted. No, I don't like them frosted. I just like plain old sugar cookies. That's been that way ever since my mom used to bake them for me years and years ago. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Dino Septic Service, you know, I've had these folks on for quite a while, and when you need them, they're there. You know, nobody likes to think about pumping a septic tank or liquid waste removal or sewer and sink drain lines cleaned. Oh, yuck. Well, that's their business, and their business is growing. Their business is encompassing more area to help serve you. All you have to do to get fast, fair-friendly services, call them at 436-6526 or 678-1638. With a big truck that says smells cargo on the way to serve you, you bet. Remember the name, Dino's Septic Service, the best. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I do not understand why the left is going absolutely berserk. They're running around in circles going, and tearing their hair out over President Trump taking hydroxychloroquine. Why? Why? I mean, I admire the man for coming out and saying, I'm taking hydroxychloroquine from my doctors. They advise that it may help as a deterrent. I'm around a lot of people. I see a lot of people every day that come into my office and also different events. So he's taking hydroxychloroquine. Why is Nancy Pelosi and Schumer and the rest of them going, oh my goodness, what is he doing? Here is the left. The Democrats. Now pay attention to what I'm saying here. I want to have you respond. Here is the left that pushes marijuana use. They've included cannabis and the usage of such in their bills that they're trying to sneak through. They have absolutely advocated the opening up of marijuana sales. And Nancy Pelosi, the Botox queen, with her latest facelift. And by the way, did you see her on television last night? I mean, her eyebrows look like a couple of the McDonald's arches. She could sell hamburgers. I'm not kidding you. I never saw, Dan and I were noticing, her forehead is so high now, and those eyebrows go over the top. I'm not kidding. She reminded me of a couple of the McDonald's arches. And here the left is saying free drugs to the homeless to further their bad habits. This is totally unbelievable. But yet they come out and they say criticisms and damnation to President Trump for taking hydroxychloroquine. I'm telling you, the Democrats are nuts. Good morning. You're on the air.
Well, Zeb, it's known fact that 25% of liberals are on medication, and the other 75% are running around unmedicated.
I got visions of little kids, going, Johnny took my tractor, give it back. I mean, this is, honestly, I'm not trying to be prejudiced on this, and I'm not trying to be political, but what difference is it to you, Doug Martin, or me, Zeb Bell, or anyone else, what the White House doctors, and you better believe your best pair of boots, that those doctors know what they're talking about with the President of the United States. What difference does it make?
It should be between the doctor and the patient, and it should never, I repeat, never be politicized.
Amen. And from a party that advocates drug usage.
Yeah, in San Francisco, they put the homeless in hotels for free.
Yeah.
And they get free drugs and free alcohol.
I'm missing something here, Doug. I'm sorry, I'm an old man, so there's certainly got to be a point of this story that I have not read about or studied about, but the criticism of the president trying to stay healthy and do his job as the president of the United States, and they, the Schumers and the Nancy Botoxes, can find criticism with that when they advocate drug usage, marijuana usage, opening up more of the cannabis usage in their bills. You got to explain this to me.
Well, they want to dumb down Americans so they can take power without a fight.
I agree.
And I like Tucker Carlson's comment last night. Those with glass faces should not throw stones.
Now, I'm not making this up, am I? Have you honestly taken and compared a picture of Nancy Pelosi from last fall? Go to a picture in the news of her, take it from a Newsweek or a Time magazine or take it from a newspaper, whatever you want to do, and hold it up and compare it with a photo from her now, after she was home for a couple of weeks with the break, remember? And a lot of people are saying Nancy went in and had, boy, that must have been a heck of a facelift. They must have used a great big crane and derrick on that. But look at the difference in her eyebrows. Look at the difference in her face. Look at the difference in her cheekbones. And I wasn't exaggerating. Her eyebrows are so archy, if you will. It could be a McDonald's advertisement.
It could be. And you seen that dimple on her chin, didn't you?
Oh, my goodness.
That's her belly button. No, I mean, Nancy Pelosi, first off, if she doesn't agree with the President Trump, who is her president, by the way, if she doesn't agree with him, she needs to fight him on policies. The only thing she can do, and call him morbidly obese.
Yeah, well, stop right there. Stop right there. He's a big guy. Okay? He's a very big guy. He wears a very wide, broad suit. But I've looked at him and watched him, and when you compare him with the little mini guy from New Jersey that was the head of the one Senate committee, pardon me, Nadler, Gerald Nadler. Now that's a man that is morbidly obese.
Yes, yeah, and he reminds me of the Penguin off of Batman.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're going to start characterizing people, they need to swallow their own pill.
Yeah.
If they can't dish, they dish it out, they need to be able to take it. So
but
I'm calling him the Penguin.
Amen. But this deal about the party in general just absolutely wringing their hands and running in circles and cursing and damning Trump for being on hydroxychloroquine. This party that's pushing free drugs and everything else in our society of negativity, how dare they?
Yeah, and did you see, as Sean Hannity calls her, Dr. Behar?
Yeah. Joy Behar, yeah.
Yeah, she was talking to that politician that did take hydroxychloroquine, and it helped him.
Oh, yes.
And she was saying, how could you take that knowing it's going to damage you? And he just set her back in her place and says, it's none of your business.
That's the whole key right there. We all need to look at these demented Democrats and tell them, back off, sit down, go play with your rubber ducky in the bathtub, whatever, but just leave us alone.
Well, the Democrats, they have gone off the deep end because they've had 8 years of Obama and all of their policies and everything that they pushed through, and none of them are working.
Yeah. And okay, stop right there, because there's a point of conversation. Why then, when the proof is in the pudding and nothing worked that the Democrats proposed and or slid through during the 8 years of our suffrage with Obama, and more of that information is becoming more apparent that it didn't work, can't work, and would never work, why then are people so absolutely blinded by thinking about putting another Democrat like Biden back in office?
They've dumbed down America. They have, with the education system stuff. They have not taught them the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And if they don't teach you your rights, it's easy for them to take them away.
You know, I sat there, and I'm going to be very honest, Doug, and I got to be fair about this. I've never met Joe Biden, but I remember vividly what he was like as little as 6 months ago. And the light is becoming dimmer in his eyes, and his verbiage is changing, his recollections, his use of the English language, his searching for words. The man is falling apart, and I'm not saying that to criticize him. I'm saying it because it's obvious and many others are seeing it. And honestly, I think that by the end of June, like I said the other day, I'm betting he is adios amigo from the Democratic ticket.
If they have any compassion for humanity, I mean, what they're putting Joe Biden through and what he's going through is sad.
Yeah.
Because and I pray that he, lives a long life, but I don't want him to get dementia or Alzheimer's. That's the last thing I want. But the man is not mentally capable of knowing the numbers and having the red button for the nuclear.
Yeah, and there's one other quick note, and then I've got to get a commercial in, but there's another quick note. The staff, if you want to call them that, if they're being paid to make him look like an idiot, they're doing a great job. Because not only once, but now on a couple of occasions, they've tried to have the rallies via the internet service and everything, and they have been absolutely put together by a bunch of absolute amateurs that can't know come here from Sikkim. Did you see the latest one? I mean, with a guy standing in the background, phones going off. I mean, you really plan for the best when you do something on camera. These people are totally incompetent.
that guy doing? If he's part of the security, yeah.
He was enjoying the geese that were out in the pond.
Exactly.
Yeah, I got to run. Hey, by the way, you
hold that against Biden, the geese sounding off. I mean, that's nature, but
yeah.
Close the windows or close the door to muffle it a little bit.
And shut the phones off and know how the equipment is supposed to work, for Pete's sakes. You might know this guy. Help me on the spot, and we got to keep it fairly concise because I want to be fair to everybody else. Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair, 635 21st Street in Heyburn. It's for sale. Lock, stock, and get started. Shop number 8784991. You betcha. Great business opportunity and a turnkey business. What would you say to that?
I would say I will train whoever wants to buy the business. I am planning on carrying the note. So stop and see me if you want to work for the worst boss you ever worked for, and that is yourself.
Boy, I can relate to that. Anyway, Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair. For sale, 635 21st Street in Heyburn, 878-4991. Got to go, Doug. Talk to you later.
Hey, everybody, let's help our senior centers what we can.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Whatever medication you're on, whatever pills you are taking, that's nobody else's business. It's nobody's concern to minimize or trivialize your taking that respective medication. I'm on certain medication, and some of it is a little dangerous, but that's nobody else's business. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you about all the virtues of taking this and what for. The president was very, very transparent. And he came right out and said, I'm taking hydroxychloroquine. He didn't have to say that. He didn't have to basically have the Democrats go, oh, no. He could have just kept it to himself and his doctor. Those are the only two people that really matter. Your doctor and you. And I am so sick of people like Schumer and Pelosi acting like they have the wisdom of Solomon when really they don't have the wisdom of Red Skelton TV show from back in the 50s. Criticizing the man for taking the medication that has been cleared by his physicians. Doesn't make any sense. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Did you happen to see, and then I'm going to do a quick commercial, but I just want you to call in. Did you happen to see one of the most pitiful, absolutely uneducated interviews on television last night with Michigan Democrat Debbie Dingell? Oh, I kind of felt sorry for her. She was not qualified to answer any of the questions regarding the Democrats' $3 trillion so-called relief bill. She made a complete fool out of herself. She had no clue what she was talking about when it came to the questions on why is money that American taxpayers are paying in going to illegal aliens? Or why is part of the bill going to change the voting status of America? She had no answer. And to him and haw, and it was very uncomfortable. Extremely uncomfortable. And I guess one word sums up the interview, and I still don't know why this woman, Debbie Dingell, that's supposedly a top-ranking Democrat from Michigan, she was pitiful. Calls welcome 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget Kent McClellan running for Minidoka County Commissioner and wants your vote. Don't you forget, all the ballots have to be in by June 2nd. Absolutely do not forget that. Kent, of course, a lifelong resident of Minidoka County, raised on a farm and local businessman, 10 years as Minidoka County Commissioner, and he wants to keep on keeping on as Minidoka County Commissioner. And he's also been on the Mini-Cassia Veterans Board as an advisor and liaison with the county. He wasn't a vet, but he sure serves those that were. Don't forget, Kent McClellan for Minidoka County Commissioner, paid for by John A. Burt Stevenson. All right, your turn. Come on, audience. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. This big tech, how many of you are concerned? Here's kind of a question for you, because I am not a techie. I'm not. Anybody that knows me knows that I could not care about technology. I could not care less about, oh boy, they've got a super smartphone that is better than the other super smartphones or whatever. I don't like big tech. I don't take time for it. I don't want to waste my time on it. To me, sitting there and playing and trying to learn all that gadgetry is a waste of my time. But I am very concerned about big tech knowing, listening, watching, and recording every movement that we make. We're in that era to where you really can't get away. You really are being watched. You really are being heard. Do you like that? It's very Orwellian, very 1984-ish, and it's all come to fruition and truth. I mean, they know where we are. They know how much money we've got. They know every single thing about us. And to me, it's only going to get worse. I was listening to a segment on the news last night where the increases and the improving of technology, I mean, they know our heartbeat, they know our health, they know every single thing about us. And that, to me, is really, really spooky. When I was a little kid, I remember watching on, it came on Friday nights on our TV, Rod Serling's Twilight Zone. And they featured quite a few of these kind of episodes of what it would look like, be like, and act like in the future with the control of government and science and technology literally running and censoring our lives. What are your thoughts about that? Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, give me a jingle. Let's see, what else have I got cooking here? Oh, before I take your next call, please give me a call. I want to give a great big shout out. I talked to last night George Mass. He sounds so much better. He's going to be coming back from Salt Lake in the next couple of days, and great optimism. Everything looks like it's going to be a lot better for our dear buddy George Mass, so congratulations and thanks. He wanted to have everybody know that he appreciates all the prayers and well wishes, and the same for Kelly Anthon, Senator Kelly Anthon. He, too, is on the mend and getting better and stronger, and he's got a wonderful wife and family and nice people. And both of those gentlemen on the mend, and by golly, we thank the good Lord for it. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Let's see. The rodeo business is going to be starting up again. Baseball season looks like they're going to be talking to some of these Major League Baseball player representatives, and they can get their head out of there and sign a contract. some of the brazen ball players and Major League Baseball player unions have said, no, we're not going to come back unless we get full pay. Well, I tell you what, that's as dumb as I've ever heard. In this time of people having to cut back and lose so much because of this coronavirus, baseball players, shut up, put the cleats on, grab the glove, and go play. If you get 50% in an abbreviated season, good. Take it. Thank the good Lord above. Shut up and go perform. And I'm really, really hoping and praying that, of course, we saw the return of NASCAR this past weekend, and I hope maybe they can start infiltrating people into the stands. And I just hope and pray that NCAA football comes back and also the NFL. I mean, we've got to get back to a sense of normalcy. And above all that, we've got to get back to church. We've got to get back to church. I will not ever stand for churches being closed. I will not ever stand for churches coming in last on a list of items and places that are being considered to, okay, well, we'll let you open now. That's baloney, and you know it. And so I know I'm going to church on Sunday. And whatever precautions are necessary, we will take. We will go along with their edicts. But I'm going in the door and I'm going to worship. I hope you do the same. In California, Governor Newsom, for some reason, is letting all businesses, basically, and congregating areas of where many people are going to be, they're open, but he still has kept the thumbs down against churches, which absolutely, to me, says discrimination. Discrimination. We need to get back to worshiping our Lord and asking our Lord for help and guidance in these very trying times. And it seems like the left is afraid of that. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Barry Equipment and Rental, Sales, Service, and Parts. Excuse me for the frog in my throat. And they've got 3 locations serving you at 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin, and the Nampa location. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't go away. And for all the jobs of lifting, digging, pushing, and carrying, and all the grading and the leveling, and oh my goodness, have they got the equipment from all the Bobcats and all the trenchers and the scissor lifts and the Doosan wheel loaders and excavators. Fantastic lease rates and great financing programs for you. Barry Equipment and Rental, Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa. You get in and see them today. Caller, good morning, and thank you for calling.
In the famous words of Ray Stevens, it's me again, Margaret.
There was a clown in the PRCA, and for years and years and years, he had a neat little act about, it's me again, Margaret. And he and I worked together many, many times. And the last time that and Wheels, we got a little feedback here. And the last time that we ever had a chance to do that routine was in Sikeston, Missouri, about 7 or 8 years ago. And I still chuckle every time I think about that routine with that song.
He was a great singer. I liked his song.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, and another thing that a bird got under my skin last night and this morning is finding out that Planned Parenthood received $80 million in that Paycheck Protection Plan.
I'm telling you, when I heard this, and caller number 2, don't go away, I'll be right there. When I heard this about them absolutely applying for the PPE funds, and that should have gone to all small businesses, and Planned Parenthood, one of the best endowed programs, not only by taxpayers, but also by the federal government, getting $80 million, I don't want to tell you what I almost threw up against the wall. I was mad.
Oh, I was too. And what gets me is they were not shut down.
Yeah.
They were deemed essential. So if they were essential, how could they even apply for it?
Doug, there's just so much phoniness. And finally, there were some people that stood up and said, whoa, wait a minute, Planned Parenthood, you need to get that money back here. We're not going to give you that $80 million. Turn it back. And I'm glad. I'd like to see, and I don't care who's offended by this, I'd like to see every Planned Parenthood just dry up and shrivel up and blow away.
Well, whenever you kill an innocent, that fetus has never committed a crime against anything.
That's right.
Anybody, and you kill it, there's got to be a special place in hell for people that'll do that.
The advocacy for taking life, whether it's in the early stages or whether it's Hemlock Society with the elderly, is pitiful, and I will absolutely stand against it. Doug, appreciate your call. I got to get this other caller in.
You betcha. And God bless.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Caller number 2, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
They ended up having to run, sir. I apologize.
Oh, no! Tell them not to run. They might trip over something, for heaven's sakes. Don't do that.
Next time.
Call back quickly. I'd like to have some more response. What do you think about that? Planned Parenthood calling and asking for $80 million of money that should have went to small businesses. This is absolutely insane. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning, Zeb. This whole pandemic was brought about, the shutdown of this country, over the fact that 2.2 million people were going to die. That's been 98% wrong. And so these models don't mean anything. But the thing that really gets me is that we continue to talk about cases. Cases doesn't mean diddly squat, Zeb. How many people are actually in the hospital? Almost none, because the cases, you can have the virus and over 50%, and even higher, never even have any symptoms. They don't even have a fever.
Yeah, stop right there. Stop right there. Wait a minute, Adrian, I want to make a point here, and I want you to comment on it. As far as being a carrier, you don't know, and I don't know, if we've been exposed to the virus or not. I feel tremendous. I'm sitting here in my chair. I'm doing another program. You're wherever you are, and you sound good. You sound chipper, but you don't know either. So what are you going to do? Are you going to have a mass testing to where everybody lines up and goes through in a Gestapo fashion to where they have to be tested? This is almost insane.
Well, it is insane. Now, the people that need to be tested are the ones that are care workers in our senior centers and so forth.
Absolutely.
Care centers. Those people need to be virus-free.
That's right.
Because obviously, if you're a carrier, you bring it in there and you've got people that already have underlying health conditions, and so it doesn't take much to push them over the edge. But for the rest of us, it's just totally meaningless. It really is, and so they use the fear factor. I've got a couple friends that listen to NPR and all the mainstream media, and it's a politics of fear.
Yeah.
The bottom line is they want to destroy, on purpose, this economy.
Well, the thing is, wait a minute. The thing is, Adrian, they almost have. You know as well as I do that our boot heels are on the edge of the Grand Canyon right now. And for some reason, we may get a spike in the cases and or some of the deaths across the United States and perhaps even right here in the state of Idaho. But another closure, another absolute shutdown would throw us into a worldwide depression that would absolutely be unequaled by any depression in the past, especially what happened in the 30s. It would be terrifically horrendous.
We're already past the 30s, Zeb. That's the problem.
Yep.
And it's an interesting statistic. The number of deaths for the first 4 months of the year compared to the last 5 years is statistically almost the same. So what they've done is all of a sudden we don't hear anything about, we had a very virulent, strong flu season going on. And so they're just dumping a lot of those people that have died from flu, pneumonia, which takes out a lot of people every year anyway. They're just putting those into the COVID-19, and that's been proved. And Colorado's backed off on their numbers by 20%, and other states are starting to look into this. But it's all about the politics of fear, and as long as we, we need to keep calling the governor, 334-2100, and open the place up.
Yep.
It's just insane what has been happening.
I agree.
I work agriculture, and I've got friends that are potato growers, milk producers. I've got one friend that works closely with a big dairy. He's losing $100,000 a month. So it's just insane. The milk price is so low because the demand is way down. And so potato growers were getting $11, $12 a hundredweight. And now because they're having to they've dumped the seed potatoes because the contracts are down 20 to 30, 40%. It's insane. But so all the seed potatoes and those that wouldn't be processed into French fries are being dumped on the market. So they're getting $5 and $6 barely, if they're even making production.
Yeah, I got to run, Adrian, but
on and on. And Zeb, this thing is the governor's just playing dictator, and I've got friends that are fairly close to that situation, and he is just totally defiant. He's just absolutely authoritarian, and this contact tracing thing is total violation of our Bill of Rights, the Fourth Amendment. I mean, it is unreal what is going on in this country, but we better stand up, and thank you for all your efforts, but we need to be contacting the governor. And, Netanyahu said, the judge, I can't get the name right, but he said all of these executive orders are unconstitutional.
That's right.
It's true.
I got to run, but I appreciate everything that you said this morning is true. Don't talk over me, please. I appreciate everything you've said, and your calls are always welcome. And I want to talk to you more about what they want to try to do to find out more about us and keep us in their eyesight, if you will. We'll talk about that at another program perhaps tomorrow. Adrian, I got to go. Thanks.
Yeah, anyway, well, have a good day.
Thank you.
Get hold of the governor. Stop all this nonsense. 334-2100.
All right, sir. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Weather forecast coming up right now, sponsored by our friends at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Hearing is absolutely essential, and when you start losing or seeing and feeling a diminishment in your hearing, oh boy, it's time to talk to the professionals. And that's Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. They can and they will help you. Number to call for an appointment, 312-0957. They are located right behind the Minidoka Hospital across from the emergency room. And the number to call, again, 312-0957. They can provide the expert diagnostic testing combined with the best technology to help your hearing. Here now is old Scott Man with the weather.
Going to be a little bit wet. Good morning with your Zeb of the Ranch weather forecast. I'm Scotty Cameron. Yes, rain today, a high of 54 tonight. Rain at night, clearing off by in the morning, a low of 38. Mostly sunny for tomorrow, a high of 65. Now for tomorrow night, 50% chance of rain, a low of 41. And then for Friday, 50% chance of rain, a high of 53. Clearing off Friday night, partly cloudy with a low of 34. Slight chance of thunderstorms on Saturday with a high of 59. And then Sunday, sunny and 67. That's your Zeb at the Ranch weather forecast. Have a great day.
Oh, Scott, man, thank you very much. I appreciate your filling in this morning for Gina. Thank you. And, of course, our friends at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Oh, my goodness, is the best in practice and technology for you. Please call and make an appointment and have a hearing screening today. Call them, 312-0957, 312-0957, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There was a op-ed in the paper this morning, and it basically, I don't know, I think it was an op-ed of intimidation somewhat, if you will. The headline said, enforcement may be the only option for COVID-19 guidelines. Well, this is all well and good. At the end of the article, it said in the last paragraph, but the space between that rock and a hard place is closing in, becoming harder to navigate. Without voluntary compliance, enforcement is Governor Little's only remaining option. I don't like that heavy-handed type thinking. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yesterday I was out with a farmer, and he was quite discouraged. He's always been happy. Every time I go see him, he's just happy and jovial and fun, and you love him. And he walked up to me, and he had this sour look on his face, and I says, "Are you all right?" I says, "Was it something I did, or because he's a customer of mine?" "No, it's just everything." And then he starts to tell me all the depressing details about where he is farming and how uncertain it is, and how his potato contracts, or no, I'm not going to say that. It was a contract, I'm not sure which one, how they are slipping, trying to act like they can't honor it because that company will suffer. And so it's just so depressing. And so I said, my wife was doing some research on it, and it says social isolation and unemployment lead to anxiety and depression.
Absolutely.
And which suppresses your immune system. Go ahead, Zeb.
No, I was agreeing with you. I said absolutely. The one point that you're making here this morning, and I'd like to jump in and amplify, and I agree with you, that it's so easy for those to get on TV and say, oh, well, here's our projected model on the amount of deaths that are going to occur with the coronavirus. But they do not amplify the projections of suicide, people in total despair, people that absolutely have thrown their hands up and given up. I'm more concerned about those numbers.
Oh, yeah. It's just everywhere. It's just like Monday, I was at a convenience store on the north end of Burley getting ready to get on the freeway, and another farmer customer of mine, I says, "What do you think?" And he says, "I don't want to talk about it." I think I said that to you. He got in his truck and took off, and he's friendly, always friendly. Just let me tell you quickly, and then I'll hang up.
Yeah, I got only just a minute. Go ahead.
Right. Since this all started, anti-anxiety drugs, the prescriptions are up 24%.
Yep.
Antidepressants are up 19%. Drugs to help you sleep are up 15%. The drug companies are getting rich one way or the other. Depression, these things are, the amount of people that die from all these things, plus depression leads to suicide. And so here we are. It's like, you are a grown man, you're a responsible individual across this valley, across the state. The people know they have to be responsible, but when they're not allowed to, it is so offensive. We don't need Brad Little telling us to do anything. We need to be released, and everybody needs to be able to go back to work. And if you're in fear of what's going to happen, I guess you have to be cautious, and the rest of us have to get back to work.
Amen. Amen. I could not agree with you more, and I think that guidelines, safety guidelines, let's say, could be adhered to by everybody about perhaps the hand sanitization and the wearing of masks and watching and staying out of a large group of people. That's all for us as adults to do and adhere to. But as far as closing down businesses and pointing fingers like Solomon saying you're essential, you're not essential, you can go ahead and go bankrupt because we don't really think your business is that good anyway. How disgusting and disturbing. Randy, I got to run. I'm late. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Calls next hour, we've got Dave Bigo. I had to change my verbiage there at the last second. Dave Bigo's coming on at 9:06, and then John O'Connor is going to be on at 9:30. And then at 10:06 this morning, of course, the Idaho Fish and Game Report. We're going to kind of lighten things up a little bit today. And Craig White, Regional Supervisor at 10 o'clock, is going to be on with the Idaho Fish and Game. Oh my, let's see what else I got. I got time for one caller, 1 minute. Go fast.
Yeah, but if we keep slowing down, closing up businesses here, this country is going to be in a financial hazard.
It's already there.
Destroyed internally.
It's already there. I mean, all it's going to take is a little nudge, and over the hill it goes. I couldn't agree with you more. We're on a very, very insecure precipice right now, and if we fall off this next time, it's done, it's toast, it's over. Tony, I couldn't agree with you more. Thank you.
Okay, Zeb, I'll let you go there. I know you're in a rush.
All right. God bless you, man. Thank you. Yeah, we got to go listen to the big boys from CBS. They'll come in and mess up everything we've put together over the last hour. And then we'll be back at 9:06 this morning with Dave Bigo from Indianapolis, Indiana. Don't go away. Stay safe. Zeb at the Ranch. I'll be right back. Oh, yeah, for Memorial Day weekend, they got to get that gas price up higher and higher. Oh, gouge ya. Hey, don't forget, Zeb at the Ranch brought to you by your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with a safe, clean environment and the best in tires. Stop in and see them today, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. Don't forget to our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And Greystone Crossing Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Right now, this good word for Western Waste.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're all at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this free land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal.
Western Waste Services. I had a friend of mine call me the other night and say, what do you think about your garbage pickup and takeaway people? And I said, Western Waste? And they said, yes. I said, I absolutely think they are the best. They really have done an outstanding job getting our garbage weekly on the route service. And then when I requested a dumpster, I mean, it was there, Johnny on the spot. And then when I said it's full, they came and got it. I have absolutely nothing but great things to say about their service. I think you will too. Number to call, 734-6969. They are always at your disposal. Western Waste Services. You get a hold of them today. Want to also acknowledge, before we go to our guest, of course, our dear friends over at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. And they have, I mean, I don't know how they've taken care of everybody during this pandemic, and they have. They really were aware of people that were aching and paining and needed to recoup from surgery and accidents, and they filled the bill. They really did a job. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation with Nick Greenwell and all the staff, located at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. And I urge you, I really do urge you to give them a call, make an appointment. They can help you get back to being you. 678-1191, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. The best. When I say the best, I also want to acknowledge our dear friends over at Hanson Mortuary with our very, very good friend for years and years. I've known him, Joel Heward, manager, and his family and staff at Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. Now, the number to call, the number to remember, 436-5636. And believe me, they absolutely provide the families they serve with the best possible support and comfort, always with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Please call them, 436-5636, Hanson Mortuary in Rupert. And Joel Heward also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Wednesdays are a special day because I get a chance to talk to an old friend back in Indianapolis, Indiana, and that's, of course, author and great businessman Dave Bego. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing fine, Zeb. I hope you and your wife are doing fine.
We are. And one of the questions I wanted to ask you last week, and I let it slip from my frail old memory, what about at this particular time with the pandemic and the left screaming that everybody should remain behind closed doors, they shouldn't be doing this, they shouldn't be doing that, don't open up the businesses. What are the labor unions saying?
Well, the labor unions, they're using this behind the scenes to get into the businesses and go after the management and try to force them to, work a deal with them. And at the same time, they're telling the employees, and this is sad, the union members that, you still got to pay your dues, and we expect you to do it. And they're pushing them and everything like that. So they're using this behind the scenes. They really don't care about the people getting back to work or anything. All they want them to do is pay the dues and help them, get some other companies to become unionized. And and people got to understand this. It's all about big labor. It's not about the members.
You just said something a moment ago in your sentence that they don't care about people getting back to work. I'm beginning to think that that is the banner or the mantra of the Democratic Party. I've never seen a party that absolutely is a party of negativity and a party of sadness. I mean, they all walk around with a chip on their shoulder. You can see it on their face. And the minute something looks like a bright spot in our economy, oh boy, we got to tear it apart and we got to have more doom and gloom. Do you think I'm wrong?
No, you're right, Seb, and this is one of the things I wanted to bring up today is that, what this is all about is dividing and conquering this country. And as I've talked to many times before, bringing it down into a socialistic, communistic country. And, I got to thinking about it, and the last couple of days I've gone back, and I really encourage people to do this, to go to my website, thedevilatourdoorstep.com, and read my blogs that I wrote for years from around 2010 to 2016, 17. And I go through all of this stuff, and, some of them that I can just mention to you here. One of them is called Divide and Conquer, bringing this country down. And one on Biden the bully, and on Obama, the great pretender is what I called him. He wants control, and I did another blog on that. The great pretender wants control. His conspiracy continues. And when you read all these blogs, it talks about Obama and of course, what he's trying to do now, and he's trying to get back involved and bring this president down. And people got to understand where he comes from. And in my book, and I even wrote a blog on it called Communism at the Highest Levels. But I exposed in my book that Obama was part of the SEIU Chicago. He right before he got inaugurated, he spoke there to the SEIU. Said, "Before I did anything, I was a part of you. I worked with you. I organized with you, and together we gained power and control on the south side of Chicago and painted it purple. And together we're going to paint this country purple." Well, here the SEIU are communist, so he's a communist, and other people are starting to come out with this. I saw Wayne Root came out there as one. An article. He says, "Obama, me, how I knew Obama was a bad guy before anyone else, because he was in college with him." And people got to understand what is going on the left, on the side, and we have to get a backbone, and we got to stand up to these people.
Oh, okay, stop right there, though. And you and I have been friends for a long time. I want to nitpick a little bit. We have to get a backbone. It's easy to say. and we can say it as a couple of good old boys on the radio. But how do you promote people standing up and realizing, there's the key word, realizing the Constitution and their rights are in jeopardy and hanging by a thread, get a backbone, and I don't think people really understand or care anymore.
Well, it's because, Zeb, and I talk about this in some of my blogs too, and I wrote a lot of blogs, and I've got some people that want me to have these blogs written into another book, Wake Up America, Come Back, or something like that. And, in there I talk about all the agenda and the tactics that the unions and the far left use, and the big part of it is getting these people brainwashed. And so they just sit back and say, oh, the unions sound pretty good, they'll give us, free health care and free this and free that, and they'll let us do this. And, we don't think we really need to have a backbone or do anything, because we think, they'll do good things for us. But when you read some of my blogs and you read my book, the truth is, at the end of the day, all they want is power and control so they can divide and conquer us. And when they do, get power and control, all these things they promised go away.
I know that people are going to say, well, Zeb, that's just the nature of politics. But wait a minute, stop the bus for a minute. When something good happens in this country, when something good, like before the coronavirus, our stock market taken off like a rocket ship and our economy was absolutely mind-blowing, best ever. The Democrats, they can't stand success because their pure hatred for conservatives and especially Donald Trump outweighs the benefits to the rest of the American people. These people thrive on negativity. These people thrive on sadness and sickness. And that's a party, as far as I'm concerned. If it goes away, blows away, I couldn't care less.
Yeah, I'm with you, Zeb. And we need to wake up the American people to this. And it takes a backbone, because a lot of people, I had a lot of people that read my book, and first book, The Devil at My Doorstep, and they said, Dave, we congratulate you on what you did and how you stood up to the SEIU and other unions too, and we appreciate it. But honestly, and these were businessmen, they said we couldn't go through this psychologically and put up with it, and we wouldn't spend the money to fight them and stuff like that. We just don't have the backbone, and we got to convince people they have to have the backbone, and we got to stand up and save America.
Amen. I want to change gears a little bit and highlight some other news items this morning, and one of which is just, it's so childish. It's so kindergarten in its nature, and that's Nancy Pelosi and Schumer and others on the left side of the aisle, like I said earlier in the first hour of the program, running around like little children, yelling and screaming, tearing their hair out, setting themselves on fire. Oh my goodness, the president is taking hydroxychloroquine. Oh no! It's none of their business.
Well, that's exactly right, but these are the tactics they use, Zeb, and and if people read my book and that, they use tactics against me that were, somewhat similar in that, but they try and find every little thing they can pick you apart with. And, one of my blogs, when Trump first started taking office running, my blog was the Death by 1,000 Cuts campaign against President Trump in the USA. And this was a blog that I'd written earlier, just Death by 1,000 Cuts, but I amplified it when it started coming out against Trump. And it talks about these things, these little things they do to pick people apart in that. And part of it is, Zeb, is that they know a lot of people, when they get picked apart like this, they just won't be able to put up with it long, and they'll go away. Trump won't go away, though. And that's the problem they're having. So they're getting even more picky on this stuff. Like, Pelosi called Trump obese. He was way overweight. Morbidly
obese.
Yeah. I mean, and this is the things they do. And you got to understand, the far left and the unions have taught the Democratic Party to use these tactics.
Well, look at the ambiguity of the whole situation, and you're a sharp guy. Here they come out and criticize him for taking hydroxychloroquine. Okay, his doctors, and they're the best doctors in the United States, and for that matter, some of the best in the world, are saying, okay, President Trump, it's good. You're out in front of the public all the time, and this might be a deterrent. Go ahead and take it. But they, the left, is absolutely incensed about this. But on the other hand, here you're looking at a party, the left, the Democrats, that are pushing more marijuana usage, more free drugs to the homeless in San Francisco and other places, and furthering bad habits. Nancy Pelosi with her 6-month facelift. By the way, I mentioned first hour, I saw her on the news again last night, and the latest Botox and facelift, her eyebrows are arched so high she looks like a McDonald's hamburger stand selling burgers.
You ought to go online and try and talk to her and tell her that.
I would like to. But my point is, the left absolutely is giving free drugs and really supporting a drug habit for America and the homeless, and they're criticizing the president for taking a deterrent that might keep him healthy? This is insane.
Well, it is, but you got to understand that a lot of these drugs that they're getting these people to take are things that, people lose their minds, and they'll sit there and they'll listen to all this garbage that the left puts out and say, oh, yeah, it's great stuff. I need to be involved with them. And they'll, try and get their friends and buddies and family on the same level with them on that. And, it's all about taking control of people and brainwashing them and getting them to the point where they just don't understand what's going on.
Yeah, I agree with that, totally. I wanted to ask you, too, the Democrats and Pelosi, the insanity of what they're trying to do with a $3 trillion additional relief bill, and they call it relief, I call it absolutely putting us on the edge of the cliff. And most of the money will not go to the small businesses. Most of the money is geared towards giving illegal funds to illegal aliens and supporting more marijuana usage, etc. And only $10 billion, they estimate, out of that $3 trillion will go to the small businesses. How can they defend this?
It's, again, Zeb, it all comes back to their agenda and their program to get people on their side and vote for them and support them and taking over the country. And that's what this is all about. They could care less about small businesses than that. And, that's another one of the things I wrote in my blogs is that about Obama, that, he didn't care about the free market businesses. His agenda was to bring businesses down. And, they don't want the free market society with companies in it and business people that can fight them.
I want to ask you about this, and I'm not trying to sound hurtful or say anything that would be, like I'm trying to stab a knife in his back at all. But the man is absolutely in trouble, and I'm talking about Joe Biden. I have watched, and I'm a news junkie, I admit it. I watch the news, listen to the news, read the news, study the news every day, 24/7. That's my hobby, that's my job. And I've seen such a diminishment in this man's capabilities and awareness in the last 6 months that it's absolutely scary. And his attempt to talk to people from his home and with all the things going off like telephones and birds and people standing in the background and very amateur people trying to put this thing out in front of the public, the man is not even close to presidential caliber. What are your thoughts?
No, I agree with you 100%, Zeb. But this Biden is just a fixture for the left. They want to get him in because somebody like Bernie Sanders and that is really going to turn off a lot of people because of the way he talks and stuff like that. But Biden will kind of talk from the middle. I mean, he'll go out on the left once in a while and support unions or something like that. But it's not like a Biden talk or some of the other radical Democrats that were running for office, and they want to get him elected. And behind the scenes, and that's why you see Obama stepping up so much now, and talking, and they're trying to get, Michelle Obama as the vice president, or one of the other radical gals in the Democratic Party as vice president, because they want a woman and they want a radical that they'll allow them to run the presidency behind the scenes.
I was talking, and I'm not going to share the name or anything, but I was talking to a man back in Washington, D.C., that if I mentioned the name, you would know it. I consider him a friend. I called him, and I said, what about this deal of Joe Biden talking to the wacky, weird Stacey Abrams from Georgia? There's a woman that absolutely has no business being in politics. She's dishonest. She's up to her neck in debt. She's lied about everything. She wouldn't acknowledge her loss as the governor of Georgia. She was beat by 55,000 votes and then yelled racism. That's what beat her. And she's running for the VP nod from Joe Biden. And my friend said it's a setup, because if they pick her, they will try to bounce Biden and then run Michelle. Wow, that really hit home.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, because they're going to appeal to the black community totally, and to women totally, and they see that as a way of beating Trump. Having women involved in this, and people from the black community in that, and this is all focused on the November election, and people need to understand that, and they need to stand up. And I have to tell you this, there's a lot of Democrats that I know that aren't part of the far left, the radical part of the Democratic Party, that really don't like what the Democratic Party's doing and how it's changing.
Absolutely. Real quick, and I don't normally veer away from politics that much, but I want you to give me a comment. I was absolutely impressed with the ESPN 10 series called The Last Dance, about the Chicago Bulls, Michael Jordan, etc. And I wondered if you had a chance to watch any of that.
No, I haven't had a chance yet, because we've been so busy on stuff. I've had a lot of people telling me, Dave, you got to watch it, but I just have not had a chance to watch it yet.
It was, and you being a great basketball player, and knowing the game, and knowing the personalities, and the absolute commitment that a person has to make to succeed in that sport, to go all the way to the top like Jordan did, I absolutely learned so much that I thought I knew about him and the team and the sport of basketball from watching that. If you get a chance, please, I urge you to watch it and then let me know.
I'll do that. And I guess the only place you can really watch it's on ESPN, right?
Yes. It was a 10-part series, and now it is for sale. You can buy the whole video set, and well worth the money. I mean, I learned a lot, and I think there were parts that I think could have been excluded, and some of it was the raw language that I didn't think had to be expressed. They could have bleeped it out, etc. But I think the rawness of really what happened in professional sports in NBA with Jordan and the other players, and especially his run to be the best he could be. Without the language, I think it's an incentive for people to go out and do their best.
Well, that's good. So where can you buy the whole...
Oh, I can't be a salesman for them here, because I can't tell you, but I will find out, and I'll give you the information. I will call you on it, because you, of all people, Mr. Basketball, you should have this.
Well, that's great. I'd appreciate it. You can email it to me or something. That'd be great.
All right, Dave. I got to run, but I want to say God's blessings to you. Stay safe, stay well, and we'll talk to you next Wednesday.
Okay, and same to you and your wife. Take care.
All right, my friend. Thank you. Dave Beagle, a great, great guy back in Indianapolis, Indiana. Thank you very much. Wow. Hey, you know what you got to do? I mean, the weather's going to clear up this weekend. I hope. And you better get outside, get on a four-wheeler or a side-by-side, and just get out of Dodge City. I mean, get out away from the maddening crowds and go to the hills, get on the trails, and just say, oh, I'm free. You got to do it. Yep, the place to go to check on side-by-sides and four-wheelers, of course. Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. Oh, my, what a selection. You're going to sit there and be amazed as to how they could possibly get all that stuff in that showroom. I don't know who designed it, but they did a tremendous job. New hours are Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays, 9 to 2. Don't forget all the accessories. Great service department to keep you running. All of this with our friends over at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, and it is so true. This is where the fun is sold, at Let's Ride. Also want to mention to you about our friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance. They're over there in that same neck of the woods, Highway 24 in Rupert. All your life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this and a whole bunch more. They can help you. Todd and the staff, I mean, they're so dedicated to serving people, and with a smile on their face, they help. Absolutely. Very responsive to what you need. Call them. Make an appointment. 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Really, really good people. Well, this next guy is really, really good people. He's been on my program before, wrote the book called Postgate, How the Washington Post Betrayed Deep Throat, Covered Up Watergate, and Began Today's Partisan Advocacy Journalism, and that's John O'Connor. John, how are you?
Hey, good morning.
One thing I would like to ask you, can I just shorten the headline and say Postgate from now on? I ran out of oxygen halfway through that.
Well, that is a mouthful, isn't it? Yeah. I really would like it to be called Postgate, but I just feel I need to have people understand what it's about. And then the second problem is there's actually a famous author named Postgate.
Oh, my goodness.
So I had to make sure I distinguished between him and my book.
Hey, let me ask you this, John, and then I want to get right into the crux of current everyday politics that's going on, as dirty as it is. But give us a little synopsis again about the book Postgate. Tell us your involvement. Tell us kind of a theme of the book so we can have people check it out at the bookstores.
Well, I began representing Mark Felt, or Deep Throat, in the early 2000 era, even though as an assistant U.S. attorney many, many years ago I'd figured out his identity. I began representing him and sort of ran into the Post, shall I say, on a number of occasions and worked with them and so forth. And I'd always thought the Post reporting was wonderful, and it was an exception to today's sleazy journalism. Come to find out, after I looked much closer, and I thought I was a real student of Watergate, as I pulled out all the old articles and started looking at them, and I realized that the Post had covered up very, very important facts about Watergate that really, really hurt Richard Nixon. The whole story was not told. It was like he received an unfair trial in the court of public opinion. Watergate was a big deal in terms of the journalism. It really was a sort of the founding of modern investigative journalism and gave the journalists today all this political power that they have. Unfortunately, that reporting was not the exception to the rule. It was actually the cause of this terrible biased journalism we see today. So I traced that, and once your listeners see what happened in Watergate, you realize how sort of the table was set for today's journalism. Now, they're doing the same thing. There's no judge and no opposing counsel. When I go to court, I have a judge and an opposing counsel keeping me in line, and I keep them in line. You don't have this with journalists, and so they can print anything they want. They can say anything they want on their news shows, and I see it on the national news. I think local talk radio is wonderful because it's more democratic, and the listeners control things. I think on the national scene, it's pretty bad. So I think reading this book will give you a very, very good, concise view of what happened in Watergate, what Deep Throat was about, what the Post did, and what it didn't do, and how it ultimately committed fraud.
John, is it fair to say, and by the way, my engineer over at the station, if you would, when he's talking, turn him up just a little bit for me, if you would. Is it fair to say that today we are looking at very biased, very under the table, very illegal reporting, if you will, by the major newspapers, whether it's the Post or whether it's the New York Times? How is the average American that works 8 to 5 or whatever, comes home, puts the lunch pail on the counter, how are they going to get a fair synopsis of the news so they can formulate an honest opinion?
Well, they're not if they stick with those sources. You've really got to listen to talk radio. Fox News is about the best thing out there. They're the only ones that attempt in some way to be two-sided about things. It is very difficult, is my answer, and that is why I wrote this book. I would like the people to get upset, to voice their concern about these media and where they're going. You know, just looking at this, MSNBC and CNN weren't as bad around the early 2000s. They tried to have people on those stations like Tucker Carlson, believe it or not. I didn't realize that he had gotten his start there. I think with CNN, and then he was on MSNBC. But today, a guy like that could never get on. They just wouldn't let him. It's just, and Lawrence O'Donnell said something the other day that was very interesting. He was criticizing CNN because he said CNN had people that were actually conservative talking on CNN. Now, I don't know who those people are because I watch CNN and I don't see any. But he said, we're very proud at MSNBC. We don't let conservatives on because we don't like liars. Now, that's a major network saying that. So think about that one. So there are a lot of people that are... It's a bad thing for our democracy because... rather than the free press being a remedy to factualism, to emotional mobocracy, it's actually a cause of it.
Yeah, but whatever happened, John, honestly, to journalism? I took journalism in college. Whatever happened to the Huntley-Brinkley report? Whatever happened to people that would sit there and report the facts of the news story, and the American public could mull it over in their minds? Now we're talking about people like Nika Brzezinski, and we're talking about people like Don Lemon of CNN. We're talking about people like Cuomo and other people that absolutely are so twisted and biased and liberalized in their thought, you're never, as a conservative, ever going to get a fair shake.
Well, yeah, you just said it right there. Huntley and Brinkley did not become rock stars. They were well-respected. They had nice careers. But along comes Woodward and Bernstein, who are really nobodies, young guys. And because they bring down a president and they get a scalp, guess what? They're famous. They have movies. They have best-selling books. So the rewards go to that guy that gets the scalp. The rewards go to the person who really kind of cooks the books. And that's what everybody wants to do. In the new journalism colleges, everybody wants to be just like Woodward and Bernstein. Everybody wants to do stuff like the Post did. And it's perverted things. It's like your kid... if your kid's on heroin, well, gee, maybe that's cool. Maybe everybody else should do it too. And so it's really bad. It's really like these people are hooked on this. Everybody sees that as the pot at the end of the rainbow, and I just think it's too bad because those same ethics you're talking about are no longer taught in journalism school.
John, you're so good at being articulate about this problem, and I'm going to relate this to you, and you can tell me I'm all wet, or you can tell me you agree with me. But the left going berserk, literally, like I said earlier this morning, running around in circles trying to set their hair on fire over President Trump being honest and transparent, saying he's taking hydroxychloroquine by his doctor's admission that it might help him when he's out in front of the public, and yet this same left party that's criticizing him for taking this drug is the same party that's giving free drugs to drug addicts in San Francisco to further their habit, advocating more marijuana usage, etc. What's the matter with these hypocrites?
Well, the problem is everything's getting politicized, and now we're at the point where in order to get at Trump, people are now probably doing an effective job of depriving many people of hydroxychloroquine that could help them.
Yes.
All because of this political stuff. The media is so biased that if Trump had a cure for cancer, and this is real close. I mean, he's got a palliative for COVID, which is pretty darn significant, and he's touting it. But if he had a cure for cancer, they would be against it. And it's because everything's been politicized to such an extent, and they're so partisan that they cannot accept that the guy may be saying something or doing something that's correct. And that's the real danger. It's one thing when all their toxic reporting only affects politics per se, but when it starts affecting people's health, gee, now we really have something that is terrible. It's really a terrible and immediate result. I think their partisan reporting will ultimately be the undoing of this country unless we stop it. But that may be a while off. But right now, people could die if they don't take care of themselves well. And this stuff is proven to really not stop COVID in its tracks, but to have a much more relaxed course of treatment in many, many people.
I said this also the first hour, John, and I'm going to reiterate it again for you to consume it and tell me again whether you think I'm right or wrong. But the Democratic Party as a whole, right now, with the Schumers, the Pelosi's, and the Debbie Dingles, and Ilhan Omar's, and ever the people, is a party of negativity and sadness. They love bad news. They're so demented that anything that is bad is good for them. They hate Trump and they hate conservatives, and I think they hate the general public so much that anything is good or looks like a bright spot on the horizon, they absolutely condemn it and hope it goes away. Do you think I'm wrong?
Oh, you're absolutely right. You've got the key right there. You hit it right on the head. The more they can make us all unhappy, then the more we're beholden to who? To them. The people on the other side of the political spectrum want us all to go out and do our own thing and be happy. And if they didn't have to make another law, that'd be fine with them. But on the left, especially the real progressives, and I'm not talking about, there's some good old-fashioned Democrats out there that I probably agree a lot with, but these progressives want power so badly that they really want everyone to feel like they're just powerless, their situation is terrible. And the worst part about it is, the more progressive policies are in place, the more things will get worse. And we'll be like, look at Cuba. We'll all become like Cuba, where everybody's in bad shape, everybody's beholden to the least little morsel that the government can give us, and we're all begging our government to be nice to us. It's a terrible thing, but that's what they want. They want to be the people with the power, with the purse, to dole us out our little crumbs and our little this and that. It's a shame.
Let me ask you about a couple of people that are in politics and in front of the camera quite a bit lately. First off, a gentleman that I admire, a man that I think has a lot of scruples and a lot of morality, and that's Attorney General William Barr. He reminds me of a pit bull that you're not going to make him eat the gravy train unless he wants to. He's going to be absolutely first and forthright and tell you the way the situation is. How long do you think this man can survive with the attacks that he's getting daily? Are they going to try to run Bill Barr out of town on a rail? What do you think?
Well, I think they got the wrong guy. As the old song says, they're picking on the wrong chicken. This guy does not get phased. He's not going to go anywhere. He's perfectly confident in what he says. He knows he's saying the right things, and they're not going to get him. The only way they're going to get rid of Barr, and by the way, they're terrified of him because he's homing right in on Comey and his crew on this whole Russian collusion stuff with the Durham investigation. But the only way you're going to get rid of Barr is by getting rid of Trump. And of all the people in the Trump administration, the progressives quake in their boots that William Barr is there. They were able to trample Jeff Sessions and made him into a nothing. That was a joke, and put in Rod Rosenstein, and they managed so that the country would not have a real attorney general for several years. Now they got one, and hopefully they'll be held to pay, but the hell will be a precise, orderly, just hell. It won't be a political hell, and he's made that clear. He's not into political witch hunts. He's into doing justice, and he's very calm. He's very smart, and he is going to do it. He'll do it the right way, and there won't be a bit of histrionics to it. There won't be a bit of political game playing. They're trying to make him into a political player, but that is not what he is.
Yeah.
So I think he is the best thing that's come along in a long time, and I am very, very happy he's there. I admire him greatly.
I'm so glad to hear you concur with me, but now there's another individual that I'm going to say, it sounds to me, after reading and studying what he has done and what he said, that his bite is not really as strong as his bark. And I'm talking about Lindsey Graham. I've heard him say, well, I'm going to go get them. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And then it fades away. The smoke kind of goes away from the fire a little bit. And then he comes back and he's, I'm going to do this and that. I honestly don't want to wait. I want to see Lindsey Graham go after him like a junkyard dog. Is he or isn't he?
Well, let me give, I've been real lucky through a contact of mine. I've had a couple meals with Lindsey over the last few months. He's a wonderful guy, and what he does, if you're going to ask him about his stance on some of these things, which sometimes sounds a little squishy, his real point is that he has to sort of keep his image as it is, because he's pulling a lot of people that are in the middle of the spectrum. They trust him. And when it really gets down to hard cases, he does the right thing. He will sort of, as you say, he'll kind of bother you because he seems like he's getting a little squishy soft on different things, and he's not going to do this and he's not going to do that. But when it comes down to it, I like to think when the chips are down, he'll do as he did in the Kavanaugh hearings, and you'll see what he's made of. That's the way he thinks of himself. And, you know, you can argue with it, but I understand what he's doing, and so I sort of am, you know, 2 cheers for Lindsey is what I say.
Okay.
And I've told him that. I've said, Lindsey, 2 cheers for what you're doing. But,
I appreciate your telling me that.
He's not perfect, but I think he's an effective guy for the Republicans.
Okay. I want to ask you about this. I was talking to a Washington insider, a friend of mine, about 2 weeks ago, and he said, Zeb, look out. Come August, when the Durham report comes out, heads of the left are going to roll down alleys like bowling balls. What are your thoughts about the Durham report?
Well, I'm hoping that will happen. I think he is, like Barr, he is so tempered, and he will only do this in a cautious and correct way, that there may not be as many heads as many of us would like to see. I think it's important that there are some heads. As long as there are some heads, there may be not as many as maybe in some eternal justice way deserve it. But there will be some heads, and then he will tell the broader story in the indictments, and whatever indictments he's going to come down with will stick. They will be good indictments. And the most important thing is the public sees the story. There may be a couple people that are going to get off. I think Comey may get off of any charges regarding the false FISA stuff. I'm hoping that he looks at this new evidence regarding Flynn and realizes that Comey is, at least as to Flynn and to the national security team and this whole Oval Office meeting of January 5, that Durham realizes that Comey is obstructing justice. The investigation into Russian collusion was the president's investigation, not the attorney general's. It's a national security investigation. And if you keep information away from President Trump as commander-in-chief and his national security team, like Michael Flynn, his national security advisor, you have now obstructed a counterintelligence investigation. You see, if you get my point.
Yep.
It's not a criminal investigation. And Susan Wright seems to be saying that in her memo. So we got to understand that if you keep things from a national security advisor in a criminal investigation, you're not obstructing justice. But if you keep it from him in a counterintelligence investigation, which it is, which that was, now you're obstructing justice. You're obstructing a counterintelligence investigation. So I hope Durham sees that, and I hope he sees that if Comey is guilty of nothing else, he's guilty of not telling Flynn and not telling Trump what's going on. He played games with Trump for months, as you know. He didn't tell him what was going on in the Russian investigation, and guess what, Director Comey? President Trump was in charge of that investigation that you weren't giving him information about. You obstructed that investigation. So I am hopeful that I'm hoping that, but I'm not sure he's going to do it. I'm not sure he's looking that way. This is just a recent event that came out, recent information, so I don't know if Durham's even tasked with that. But I hope he looks at things the way I see them and see that this is now clear evidence of obstruction, whereas before it may not have been so obvious.
John, one final thought. I've got about 2 minutes left here, but I'd like you to comment if you would. The Democratic Party, if you will, is in complete disarray, and I think it's absolutely hanging on a tree branch that's going to break off if they keep supporting Joe Biden. I feel sorry for the man. He's lost his faculties and really is not of presidential caliber, if you will. But the appointments of the vice president and then the possibly replacing of Biden with someone else, I've had another source of mine say that he may very well pick Stacey Abrams from Georgia, and then he himself will be replaced by Michelle Obama. What are your thoughts about the twists and turns in the Democratic Party?
Well, I think it's going to be impossible. They'd like to. You just sort of stated a wish list of some people. They would love to figure out a way to get rid of Biden smoothly. I hate to say this and be morbid about this because Biden's a nice guy, and I hope nothing happens to him that is bad. But the best thing in the world for the Democrats would be if something were to happen physically to Biden such that he would have a legitimate reason to bow out. Right now, if he stays as he is, they've got to nominate him. And now they're nominating a dead man walking. I mean, this guy doesn't have a brain. I'm sorry, he's incompetent. Everybody knows he's incompetent. And, of course, the worst thing in the world would be to see a vice president standing in the cleanup spot behind Biden, and it's Stacey Abrams. That's a scary thought. I mean, this is a woman who doesn't even have what record she has is bad, but she has very little of a record. So it would be a terrible thing for the country if we had novices like Stacey Abrams on board to run the country. I mean, it's bad enough to have a guy with dementia running it. I would like to see a guy like, if he had a vice president, a guy like Steve Bullock from Montana, some competent guy like that, where you could say, gee, if the Democrats do win, at least you've got a competent vice president there. But, boy, God help us if we end up having a country run by, I don't know what's worse, having it run by Biden who doesn't have a mind, or Stacey Abrams who does have a mind, but it's not a good one.
You know, John, you are one of the very best, and I so much appreciate you coming on the program. I'm visiting with John O'Connor, and he's the author of the book called Postgate, How the Washington Post Betrayed Deep Throat and Covered Up Watergate and Began Today's Partisan Advocacy Journalism. John, you simply are, I'll state it again, the best. Appreciate you. Come back. God bless, and we'll look forward to your return.
Zeb, let's do it again.
All right, sir.
All right, thank you.
God bless you.
Take care of yourself.
Thank you very, very much. I thoroughly enjoy having him on my program. He is so knowledgeable. He knows everybody that's the principal players, if you will, on both sides of the aisle. And get his book, John O'Connor, and the book simply called Postgate. It's an excellent book at all the bookstores across the country. Wow, weather forecast, running late. I can tell you what the weather looks like right now. Yuck! Weather Weather brought to you by Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company, and they've been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cache area for well over 50 years. They are the best at what they do. Tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting to help you with your business, financial statement preparation, payroll services, retirement planning, all of this and so much more. That's why they are the professionals, with offices at 1710 Overland in Burley and 620 5th Street in Rupert. You get a hold of them today. Let them help you, the professionals. Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. Right now, here's old Scotty with the weather.
Going to be a little bit wet. Good morning with your Zeb of the Ranch weather forecast. I'm Scotty Cameron. Yes, rain today, a high of 54 tonight. Rain at night, clearing off by in the morning, a low of 38. Mostly sunny for tomorrow, a high of 65. Now for tomorrow night, 50% chance of rain, a low of 41. And then for Friday, 50% chance of rain, a high of 53. Clearing off Friday night, partly cloudy with a low of 34. Slight chance of thunderstorms on Saturday with a high of 59. And then Sunday, sunny and 67. That's your Zeb at the Ranch weather forecast. Have a great day.
Thank you very much, Scott, man. Appreciate it. Weather brought to you by Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. These are wonderful people that know. They know, and they can help you and your family and your business. Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. In Burley and Rupert, the professionals. I got to say this because it is such a great, great feeling to say welcome back, and boy, is it good to have them have the doors open and serving you. Denny's Restaurant. Da-da-da-da-da. You better believe it. 611 North Overland in Burley, and they're practicing the social distancing inside and serving you delicious food right now. Their hours are 7 to 9 Sunday through Thursday, 7 to 10 on Fridays and Saturdays. America's Diner. Man, we're getting back to normal, and we're getting back to great food at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. Welcome back, Thomas, Michelle, the whole crew. They are there to serve you breakfast, lunch, and dinner anytime, all the time at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner. What have we got coming up next hour? Well, I'll tell you what, we got the Fish and Game Report, and that means that our dear friend, Regional Supervisor Craig White's going to be on the program, and we'd be more than happy to take a lot of your calls and questions during that next hour. Tomorrow on the program, I wanted to quickly tell you that we're going to have one of our favorite guests back on the show. And that's Dr. Gerard Lamero. This is the man that can prognosticate and hit it on the head as to what's happening with the presidential races, what's happening to the various things with the Democrats and the Republicans. We're going to have him on the air tomorrow morning at 10:30. Don't miss it. Right now, we're going to get ready to send it back to Wheels at our main studio and CBS News, and we will be back in just about 7 minutes with the Fish and Game Report on Zeb at the Ranch. Be right back. Oh my, wet outside. Can't rope in my arena. The Ducks are using it. Anyway, good morning. Zeb at the Ranch brought to you by our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations are open and serving you in a safe, clean environment with the best of tires. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And don't forget, too, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And our friends at Greystone Crossing Senior Living. I believe we're going to be talking to Kelly Wiggins tomorrow on the program. I urge you to call the number at Greystone Crossing, 650-4979. I'll say it again, 650-4979. Matt and Kelly Wiggins have a beautiful, beautiful 12-bedroom home for seniors, and 3 meals a day, plus snacks, housekeeping, local transportation, and you're with your friends. You're with your friends. Please call them today and find out more. The Matt and Kelly Wiggins at 650-4979, Greystone Crossing, Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. And by the way, too, I want to remind you, about our friends Lon Hardy and Sharon Wilmot with 7K Metals. There is a lot of talk about the increase and always increasing value of silver. Well, check it out with silver purchases sent right to your home with 7K Metals. Literally, you can help yourself build your financial security and future, and it's a great saving opportunity for you and then a valued treasure for your loved ones in the future. Find out more. Call Lon Hardy at 312-8699 or Sharon Wilmot at 430-3259. Mention I told you to call. I believe in it. It's a great, great program. 7K Metals with silver purchases. You check it out today. This, I hope, will be the last time that we have to do this long distance, and we can have him in the studio so I can poke fun at him in person. Ladies and gentlemen, the regional supervisor for the Idaho Fishing Game. Good morning, Craig White. How are you?
I'm doing great. Zeb, how you doing?
Are you on a speakerphone?
Yes, I just took it off. I forgot that doesn't play well over the station.
Yeah, it makes you sound like you're in outer Mongolia chasing a yak.
Hey, I am. Didn't you know that?
Well, yak it up.
Oh, boy. We better stop before we drive the listeners crazy.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's a lot going on with the fishing game as there is every month, and we're going to try to give a quick synopsis of many, many items here this morning. What about the status of your offices for the public? I mean, can they walk in? Can they start seeing people face to face? What's going on over at the main office?
So your callers may be aware that for about the last 6-8 weeks, we've been by appointment only, and only those type of licenses and activities that we could do that they could not do online or at a vendor. Examples of that were if they were going out to bear hunt and they wanted to put up a bear bait station, they would need to get the bear bait tag, and only we sell those. You couldn't get them on a vendor. From a vendor, you couldn't get them online, and they had to call and set up an appointment and come in. Well, Monday, with the governor's movement to stage 2 for Idaho, and we opened the office back up to people walking in and providing all the services that we have that we typically provide. We do still. The online option and the 1-800-554-8685 number, they can still call those to make purchases, licenses and tags and whatnot. So there's still those options, the online as well as that 1-800 number. And we do encourage people, if especially if they're trying to maintain social distance and isolate themselves a little bit, we do encourage them to use those methods. It helps us with our amount of traffic flow into the office, and we are still, when I say the office is open to public walking in, our staff, as directed by the governor's 4 stages of keeping Idaho healthy and safe, most of our staff are still teleworking, or at this time of the year we have a lot more important and essential field work that is occurring, and so a lot of them aren't in here anyway. So bottom line is yes, we are open. You can come in. We do have the lobby and the outside area set up to help people be able to distance themselves 6 feet. We do encourage people to use the precautions that the CDC and the state of Idaho have encouraged, such as, wear a mask, those type of things. It is not required, but is encouraged. And but we also encourage people to, if they're looking for a specific person, call ahead of time, make sure that person's here. If they need to set up an appointment or need to visit on something, call ahead so we can set up an appointment, take them outside of that main lobby area into a room where there's room to social distance and visit. If they need to check in a bear or Wolf, call ahead, and we'll meet them at the north end of the building as we have been doing the last 6 or 8 weeks, and we'll get the information we need mostly over the phone, and then just do the final tagging of the animal and pulling of a tooth.
Okay.
So we're certainly trying to do our duty and responsibility of safe service while also providing service and trying to serve the people of Idaho as best as we can.
You know, Craig, I was looking here, and it's hard to imagine. We're already at the mid or latter stages of May already. And next on the list, controlled hunt applications are being accepted until June 5th. Maybe you better tell everybody how they can take care of that.
Well, yeah, and let me quickly mention, I know it's a little bit further down on our sheet that we follow, Zeb, but let me mention that the moose, goat, sheep controlled hunts, they of course closed, and the results are now available. So if any of the listeners put in for moose, goat, or sheep, they can go on to our webpage, the controlled hunt portion of that webpage, and they can look up the results to see if they drew. Right now, till June 5th, people can now put in for the deer, elk, pronghorn, and fall bear controlled hunts. And once again, that can be done online, over the phone, or they can come in with the encouragement of social distancing. Our lobby is set up a little bit differently. We do have some information before they get to the front counter because we only allow 6 people in the lobby at a time, or if there is a family group, dad, a kid or two, or mom and dad, or mom and kids, they can come in together, but we're maintaining some social distance and kind of controlling the flow. So the point is we encourage people to kind of figure out what they want to put in for before they show up.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to show up here to do the actual application.
Okay.
If they're unsure, we encourage them to call in first, and we'll try and walk them through any other questions about the deer and elk and pronghorn and fall bear controlled hunts. There's data on our website as far as draw from past years, the percentage of people who draw versus the number who put in, both resident and non-resident, and that sort of information. So most of the information we're going to be able to share with them anyways. They can find out online, or they can call us and we'll share what we have before they ever get here. And when they get here, we can make it as quick and as streamlined as possible for them.
Let me ask you this. I know there's a lot of people that like to come up here to this great state of Idaho and enjoy our hunting and fishing. What about, I see on your page that you sent me, non-resident licenses are now available as of, I believe, last Saturday, right?
Yeah, so back when the governor, there was a decision point a few weeks ago, and I apologize, I'm losing track of time, as I'm sure everyone is, through this kind of situation, but the governor asked that any non-residents coming into the state self-isolate for 14 days. And at that time, the commission, following that lead, took action to restrict the selling of licenses, fishing licenses, and bear tags to non-residents. Any non-resident that already had a tag and our fishing license could use those tags and fishing licenses, but we weren't selling any further tags and licenses other than a hunting license to non-residents, and pretty much that non-resident hunting license was still available because the only thing pretty much intention for folks to be able to use it was to be able to put in for controlled hunts. So at the time we had moose, goats, and sheep controlled hunts going on, and they could put in for it. With the governor moving into stage 2, he also dropped that requirement that non-residents coming into the state self-isolate for 14 days unless they were coming from certain parts of the country with higher rates. Taking the cue from the governor, the Commission did rescind that order, and we are now able to sell, any license and tag to non-residents that are being sold to residents.
Mm-hmm.
That was changed.
Okay. Big weekend coming up, and after all that's happened in the last 2 months plus a few weeks, people are saying, we got to get out of Dodge City. We got to get out of this house. We got to get away from here. And Memorial Day, we're going to see a lot of people hit the hills and the streams and the lakes. What are your thoughts?
I think, Memorial Day is always a big weekend for folks, and it's great that we live in Idaho. That's what I think, because it provides a lot of beautiful, wonderful country to get out to. I think there'll be some good fishing opportunities. We've had some coming up, and I think that interesting thing is we've been kind of monitoring recreational use out there. In fact, we record a number of folks we see out and about, and best of our ability try and record what they're doing. And we've been sharing that with our leadership who's been meeting with the governor during this time period pretty regular. And he's our director is sharing that with the governor and his staff, and they've it's a way that they've been able to kind of monitor outdoor recreation, because that's one thing the governor really kind of emphasized, that it's a very healthy thing to do and helps emotionally and mentally and physically, and if people do it right, with social distancing, they should be out. Kind of a long-winded explanation there is for you to let you know that I think it's great, and we also have indications that people have been out, probably more. In fact, some of our reports, officers are mentioning this is like a Memorial Day weekend out here as far as the number of people out and about, and I think that's great. I think people have been trying to be responsible and show some social distancing, and I think it's a great weekend for those who haven't got out, that they get out and maintain proper social distancing, but enjoy what they're doing.
Let me ask you a question about walleye fishing. And, being from the Midwest, and I know that we caught a lot of walleyes up in the Great Lakes, especially when I'd go on summer vacations up on Lake Michigan. But what's the walleye fishing like here in the state of Idaho, especially over to Salmon Falls, as compared to other areas of the Northwest?
Well, we don't have a lot of walleye fisheries in Idaho, but we have at least two ones that I think are pretty outstanding in the state. And I don't know how they compare across the Northwest, but for Idaho, I think they're fantastic. And that's the Salmon Falls Creek Reservoir, and it does appear to be picking up. And then, Oakley Reservoir, and I have a coworker who sent me a picture. He had gotten out on the water, and he didn't reveal which body of water he caught it in, but it was a very nice 30-plus inch walleye.
Ooh.
Probably he didn't have a scale with him, but over 9 pounds.
Wow.
And, boy, it was a beautiful fish that he just recently, in the last week, caught. And I think it's a fantastic opportunity that people need to take advantage of.
I was looking at your list here, and it says over at Magic Reservoir that you have put over 14,000 rainbows stocked in there since mid-April. Wow. I mean, to me, that sounds like a lot of fish. What size are they when you stock them?
Well, we started to go to what we call magnum fish, where, it used to be they would be under 10 inches, and we'd stock them, and of course, you could have a few more fish, because when it comes to fish production, you had more fish but smaller size, so our ability to, as far as how much food we were putting into these fish, we could feed more fish, but they would be smaller. But several years ago, and talking to anglers, we realized that they were more interested in maybe a few fewer fish, but bigger fish. And so we've started to stock them, greater than that 10, 11, 12-inch size when we can. And it makes a difference when, these people catch these fish. I mean, these fish all of them aren't going to stay in the system forever, both just because of fishing pressure and natural loss and whatnot. And so I think people enjoy how we stock fish a little bit better now with these larger size fish. And so there should be some nice rainbows in Magic. There should be some nice naturally occurring browns in the reservoir. That's one thing we've had to cut back over the last 2 months to essential activities. But one of those essential activities is, we already have fish in the raceways and production going when this all hit. And, fish have to be fed, and we want to keep them fed, and we've kept stocking ponds and reservoirs and rivers. And, the stocking schedule was a little bit up in the air, so we stopped posting what that schedule was on the Internet because we, for a few reasons, but one of them included just not, really being able to depend that we would get out that week and stock that reservoir like we used to. And but we have still been stocking, and for the most part, have been able to maintain a pretty regular schedule with that. And there's a lot of good fishing out there, and has been. So that's pretty exciting.
Let me interrupt something right here, interject, I should say, is that the main thing we want to stress is everybody can get outside, enjoy Idaho outdoors, and especially coming up on this Memorial Day weekend, you better get your license now, correct? No fishing, no cheating.
That's right. Now's the time to get out and get a license. In June, we do come up to our free fishing day, and that's June 13th this year, where you don't need a license to fish. But really, if you're going to fish for the year, there's no reason not to get it now. Be ready to go on Memorial Day. Once again, you can have that in 3 minutes by going online and doing it online, or calling the 1-800 number, or come in here. But you will find that, the lines move a little slower as we maintain social distancing and do the steps we need to. So if you're in a hurry and or don't want to be in a line, get that online, make that phone call to the 1-800, get it, and be ready to go. There's going to be some good fishing in rivers and streams. Some of them are running lower than normal. Particularly the Littlewood and Bigwood and the area around that have had a much lower snowfall this year than in the past. In fact, some of the data I saw recently indicate they're significantly lower, like 40% of their water levels than they have been, on average. And it is concerning. It's concerning for any folks that are pulling water out of that for farming and other uses, that the water isn't where it, has been in the past, but it still will mean there's good fishing.
And I want to jump in here a little bit, Craig, and I want to mention that the cheapest entertainment that you will find anywhere, if you love to be outdoors, and I'm going to say this because I think it's true, the cheapest entertainment is a hunting and fishing license.
Well, I absolutely agree, and of course, people will say, well, yeah, you work for Fish and Game, you're biased, but I think the numbers stack up pretty well that, a resident fishing license is $25.75, a junior fishing license, so anyone age 14 or older needs a fishing license, anyone younger than 14 doesn't, but a junior fishing license is $13.75, and, point is you could go buy a movie ticket for about $12, and it's a one-time hour-and-a-half, 2-hour movie. Well, fishing license you can use 365 days of the year. If you buy it January 1st, and if you haven't bought it yet, you still got 7 months of entertainment ahead of you to look forward to, and you can go as often as you want and for as long as you want. So it just, the numbers stack up. It's a renewable resource and a renewable activity, and it's just a fantastic opportunity in Idaho.
Absolutely. Craig, sit back and relax for a couple of minutes. I've got to do some spots, and then we've got to send it back over to our main studio for about 3 minutes, and we'll be back with more with the Idaho Fish and Game Report with Regional Supervisor Craig White. I want to remind you, too, about our friends over to Patterson's Electronics at 421 East Main in Burley. Wonderful, really nice people. Curtis and Lorena over there at Patterson's, and they've got all your electronic needs, whether it's the power cords or whether it's the monster cables or the home theater systems or the video surveillance cameras or the televisions. They've got them all. Samsung, Sony, Toshiba, LG TVs, all of this and more by people that really know and understand electronics. Patterson's Electronics, 421 East Main in Burley. They're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6, and they're waiting to serve you. Telephone number to call, 678-6997. Don't forget Patterson's Electronics. Real quick, too, I want to remind you every Monday, during the gardening season, we have the lovely Miss Vicky from Vicky's Country Garden coming on our program. And she, of course, with Vicky's Country Garden, is located at 185 South, 600 West of Paul. The number to call for all your gardening plants, gardening needs, and help with your garden, Vicky's Country Garden, 438-5663. Mondays at 10:30, Vicky's Country Garden, right here on Zeb at the Ranch. We're going to send it back over to our main studio right now. We will be back in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Oh, very well done. Thank you. And we're going to be back with Regional Supervisor for the Idaho Fish and Game, Craig White, momentarily. I want to remind you about Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More pre-Memorial Day sale that's going on right now. Holy cow, can you save money? Great mattress buys. You better stop in and check that out this morning. And check out all the living room sofa love sets. My goodness, the prices are marked way down. And, of course, all your flooring with the carpet and the other flooring and all the furniture to comfortize and beautify your home. You stop in and see them today for this great big pre-Memorial Day sale going on at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays 10 to 5. The best, Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Real quick note, we had him on the air earlier this morning, and that's Doug of Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair. Bark, 635 21st Street in Heyburn. Don't forget, Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair is for sale. That's right, it's a turnkey business. It's ready for you. Great business opportunity, and Doug will train the buyer the business of rebuilding starters and all the repair. You better check it out today. Call the number 878-4991. That number again, 878-4991. Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair at 635 21st Street in Heyburn. It's for sale. It's for you. Right now, back on the phone line with our dear friend, supervisor of the Idaho Fish and Game, Craig White. And Craig, let's get right into, pardon me, I got a little frog in my throat, the commission meeting update after we take this call. So caller, you're first. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I was wondering if you, when the docks, they're nice docks, but they need some maintenance out of Lake Walcott.
All right. Well, let's have him answer that over the air. Craig, if you would, please.
Yeah, so I'll look into that. But Lake Walcott itself is kind of a split thing between the Bureau of Reclamation and the Minidoka National Wild Refuge. U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service operates that. And I believe those docks being referenced are probably fall under their jurisdiction. But if the caller can tell me a little more about location, which ones he's referring to specifically, I will check into it, and we'll make some calls and see if there's something we can help on our end.
All right.
If there's some repairs or something that need to be made. Or
out on Walcott to launch boats, and they've been damaged now for over 2 years. And sure would appreciate getting them straightened up.
Yeah, I missed the first part of that.
He said they were the boat docks.
2 years, but
Yeah, he said something about the boat docks over at Walcott, and they've been damaged for over 2 years.
yeah. Okay. Well, I'll certainly follow up on that. Once again, it's pretty tough outside of our jurisdiction and limited. We're spending a lot of money and time on access sites that we either have some control or own. And when I say own, really the anglers and trappers and hunters of Idaho own them. But we make sure that we put the hunters and anglers and trappers of Idaho money into ones that they have more direct control over. And like I said, I believe those are actually going to fall under the refuge or the BOR. But if there's some repairs that need to be done and we can encourage that or maybe even partner in some ways, we certainly recognize that Idaho anglers benefit from it. So we want to be good partners and see what we can do.
All right, caller. Thank you very much for your call this morning. Craig, in the time that we have left, discuss with us the commission meeting regarding lighted knocks, trapping signage, and a new chairman and vice chair.
Sure. And so the commission did hold their meeting last week. It's a regularly scheduled one for May. It's one that typically doesn't have as many agenda items as our January and March meetings, which usually you're dealing with season settings. But they did have a few things in front of them. There were some closures to some fishing Chinook seasons and likely a few more that will meet some criteria and soon close, and those can be found on their website or give the region a call if you have questions on that. There were some groups that brought forth some things they wanted to be addressed. One of those was putting lighted knocks, allowing lighted knocks on arrows. Currently, electronics and other devices or certain sources of illumination are not allowed in archery and in other, depending on what it is, other technology isn't allowed on a muzzleloader or a rifle. And this is something that is brought forth to the commission periodically. This commission and previous commissions have felt, based on input, and again, this is one of those things where not everyone is probably, there's going to be divergent of opinion, I guess is the best way to say it. Some people do not want to see any more creep in the use of electronics in hunting and illumination devices, and as such, they have chosen not to proceed with any rulemaking because this would take rulemaking and would need to be approved by the legislature. They have chosen not to proceed in furthering any look at allowing lighted knocks on arrows for archery hunting, just from the standpoint that they don't. They've heard from other folks who feel like there doesn't need to be any more, modernization of archery type hunting, and while certainly that can help with the retrieval of arrows and has some benefits, the concern is just where do you stop?
Right.
And so they felt opening that back up is not the best thing at this time. Similarly, there have been groups that have asked that trappers be required to actually post trap locations where they're trapping, actually put up signs saying they're trapping in an area, and certainly other users out there may appreciate such a step, but at the same time there have also been concerns of folks perhaps interfering with trapping activity. Stealing traps is always a concern and does occur, as well as putting up a bunch of signs where you might be trapping because you'll have a trap set and you might have 10 or 15 or 20 traps over a mile or 10 miles or 15, and then you have a bunch of signs out there, and some people don't appreciate, seeing signs out on everywhere they go either. So concerns of that it would appear that it's littering and other types of things. So Commission in recent years, last 10 years, have already taken steps to prohibit the use of traps around campgrounds within a certain distance of campgrounds. You can't use them within. You can't use them on a trailhead. You can't use them on a paved road or near a paved road or trail within a certain distance, or unpaved dirt trail or road within a certain distance. So there's already been steps to, clearly kind of separate high use areas from traps without making it more likely that trapping activities would be hindered or even damage or stolen traps occurring. So people brought that up, but that was something they also have chosen not to move forward into rulemaking. And then the last thing I'll mention about that commission meeting, unless there's any callers that want to call in about it, but every year there is a new chair and vice chair elected, and for this coming year, the new chair of the commission. Remember, this is a 7-member board appointed by the governor, and the chair for this year will be Brad Corkle, who's the commissioner up in the Panhandle region, and the vice chair will be our very own Greg Cameron, the commissioner that represents the Magic Valley region. And so we're excited to have Greg in that position. He's a level-headed, clear thinker, practical and pragmatic, and really does truly care about hunting and fishing and trapping in Idaho, and trying to listen to the various voices out there, often voices that are contradictory as far as what they want to see, and he tries to certainly put forward the things that are going to benefit citizens of Idaho the best.
Let me ask you this, in the time remaining before we have to wrap it up. Memorial Day weekend, a lot of people are going to be going out into the folds of nature. And what are some of the do's and don'ts from your standpoint that people should be aware of or cognizant of, so that they not only abide by the laws and the rules and regulations, but also for their own safety?
Well, yeah, and that's certainly changed, under the current situation in the country and the world, as far as, and we've covered some of those. Certainly, remember social distancing, even setting up your camp. Don't crowd in on next to somebody that's already there, unless it's your family member, because they may appreciate some social distance themselves, but there's other time proven things that need to occur. If you're camping with a tent, don't bring your food into your tent. Have a safe place to keep that food, preferably in a hard container, in your car, or if you're backpacking, bring some rope, bring a sack, plan on putting your food in the sack, and hoist it up a tree, away from the trunk and out on a limb, to keep it away from and up high enough to keep a bear away from it. If you've been, fishing, you've been cooking over the campfire, you got fish smells, you got, campfire smells like cooking dinner, bacon on you. I encourage you to think about maybe putting those clothes outside your tent or in a safe place away from your tent. You don't want to bring in that smell into your tent and get bears thinking that they're just entering a tent for food, and you and them getting surprised. Mm-hmm. Even people camping with a hard shell camper. Again, inside the camper's safe, secure, as long as you keep your door securely locked and have a secure door on it, not just leave the screen door in place and the other door open. Don't just leave your cooler in easy reach. Bears will climb into the back of a truck bed and get after a cooler. So you need to, even if you have it in a cooler, think about where you're keeping the cooler, maybe inside the cab. there's some great opportunities for this Memorial Day. We didn't even mention a few of them, such as the Big Wood and Silver Creek. They have seasonal closures. They'll be reopening on Saturday. Several of the community ponds have been stocked, so if someone doesn't, have time or doesn't want to go up to the hills but still wants to get out, several of the community ponds have been stocked with retired brood stock from Reverence. That's the company formerly known as Clear Springs Foods. They've been stocking some of their brood stock into these ponds over the last several weeks. So people may find a bigger fish than they're used to out there if they land one of these brood stocks. So really encourage people to get out and about, but do be conscious of bears. We're already seeing some bears coming into the outlying areas of Blaine County towns and cities up in the Wood River Valley. Unusual for this time of the year, but it has been so dry up there and dry conditions that bears have come out of hibernation to find a very dry hillside, and they are looking further and farther for food, including human provided food. If you're going to leave it readily available, they will find it. So we encourage you not to leave it readily available.
Let me ask you this, and I'm not trying to be facetious at all when I say this or ask this question, but if a bear comes into your campsite, if a bear comes in and is trying to disrupt things and you're in the tent, etc., what's the biggest thing people need to know or do under that circumstance?
Well, first of all, most of those encounters I just want to share is a bear looking for food, not looking to cause harm to a human. At the same time, hey, if you're in that situation, you're inside the tent and a bear's trying to come in because, it can smell the candy bar that your kid has in their sleeping bag, you should fight back and make lots of noise and loud noise, and the bear does, normal bear will respond to that loud noise and that, by retreating, if it's just a bear that's looking for food. Certainly if a person has a bear coming into their tent or trying to get in their camper, they're certainly welcome to protect themselves in a more serious way, including shooting the bear if they can do so safely without endangering someone else, because those are very unusual moments and tense moments. People can sometimes hurt themselves or others with just feeling like they're being threatened. So it really, you need to stay calm. You need to make lots of noise and sound. I do want people to be reassured they could defend themselves. Most bears, though, if they're just getting in the back of your pickup to the cooler and you come out and make lots of noise, it's going to run away.
Okay.
We would want the people to contact us if they have that kind of encounter, though. We do, depending on the encounter and the situation, we're going to take some action, and what that action is going to depend on the bear's behavior. The bear behavior tells us a lot of why the bear may be in the campground and what it's doing. And if it's aggressive towards people, that's very serious, and we need to know that right away. If it's coming in the campgrounds, we still want to know that right away. Hazing and trying to push the bear off, if we know about it right away, the first few times it's coming into a campground, we have a much higher success of hazing that bear away permanently versus one that has had a food reward for 2 or 3 weeks before someone calls us and say, hey, this bear's been coming in. Then it gets a lot more difficult to haze that bear away because it's had the reward for too long.
One thing I wanted to mention to you and ask you about, and I've only got about 2.5 minutes left, Craig, so we got to keep it short. The spring and snakes. What kind of precaution do people need to know about and use while being up in the hills? Snakes are out, probably, and what kind of safety measures?
Well, being aware is a big thing, and most snakes, of course, aren't going to be harmful. Fortunately, one of the ones that is, venomous, the rattlesnake, will bigger concern may be your dog, who may be unfamiliar or even aggressive towards snakes. We encourage bird hunters that have bird dogs to put their dog through some training, and it's available for more than just people with bird dogs. Anybody with a dog could find a snake avoidance or type training for their dog, and we encourage people to do that. That's probably the greater threat, or a small child unattended, or just walking along with you if you're not paying attention, because they're not going to necessarily recognize and understand what a rattle means. But like bears and like with snakes, most of those encounters, the animal is just either startled, or in the case of a snake, defending himself. You've encountered their bubble, so to speak. And with bears, most of it's they're after food, and fortunately, to the best of my recollection of black bear, I cannot think of one encounter with black bear that's ended in a fatality that I'm aware of in Idaho in at least the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years.
Okay.
Grizzly bears are a different story and a different critter, and that's a whole other topic. But in our part of the state, good precautions end up with everybody having a good, enjoyable time.
All right. Want to say thank you, and hopefully next month everything will be back to quote-unquote normal in the studio, but we want to say thank you to the Idaho Fish and Game Regional Supervisor, Craig White. Thank you so much for being on the program this morning, and stay safe, stay well, and everybody enjoy the great outdoors. Get your licenses, Idaho Fish and Game. Thanks, Craig. Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, Zeb, and I hope your listeners are able to recreate and enjoy their outdoors.
All right, sir. Talk to you next month. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks, Zeb.
All right, sir. Time for the weather, but before we do the weather this morning, I want to remind you about a great, great place to go eat, and that's Edith's Cafe. 144 East Highway 81 in Burley, right across from the golf course. They have the best of everything. You got to check out their menu. It is delicious. And they've got call-in orders available. And by the way, they've also got a food trailer over at 2500 Washington across from Fabrical, and they're really helping all the truckers get a great, great meal. I'll tell you what, you're really going to enjoy the food. You're going to enjoy the people. They do catering. It's all there for you. Edith's Cafe, 144 East Highway 81 in Burley. Nice folks. Number to call, 878-2248. Edith's Cafe. You be sure and dine there with your friends, family, and neighbors. You'll be glad you did. Time for our weather forecast, and the weather forecast brought to you this hour by, of course, Scarro's Meats. Don Scarrow and the whole crew at 331 North Road, Jerome. Oh, boy, I get a chance to talk about Don and all those delicious meats. Go to their website, and you'll see what I mean, www.scarrowsmeats.com. Whether it's the marinated pork ribs or the St. Louis-style ribs or the hams or the tri-tips, all the different kinds of bacon and sausages, and the bratwurst are absolutely phenomenal. Don't forget, Scarrow's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. The number, 324-7657. Right now, let's send it over to Scott Mann for the weather.
Going to be a little bit wet. Good morning with your Zeb of the Ranch weather forecast. I'm Scotty Cameron. Yes, rain today, a high of 54 tonight. Rain at night, clearing off by in the morning, a low of 38. Mostly sunny for tomorrow, a high of 65. Now for tomorrow night, 50% chance of rain, a low of 41. And then for Friday, 50% chance of rain, a high of 53. Clearing off Friday night, partly cloudy with a low of 34. Slight chance of thunderstorms on Saturday with a high of 59. And then Sunday, sunny and 67. That's your 7th the Ranch weather forecast. Have a great day.
Wow, we'll look forward to Sunday. I hope so. Little sunshine, hopefully, by then. And again, our thanks to Don Scarrow and the crew at Scarrow's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. I'm telling you, folks, Don and his staff, they do a wonderful job. And it's really, really true. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time from Scarrow's Meats. Wow, tomorrow, Thursday, on the program, have we got a full plate? Let me tell you, we're going to have the first hour an open forum, and then, of course, the Chamber of Commerce report with Penny. We're going to be going over to Burley Physical Therapy and talking to a certified hand therapist. Yeah, hand, H-A-N-D. You're going to find that really interesting. And then, of course, we've got guests coming on the air, along with Cache County School Days, and, of course, at 10:30 tomorrow, one of my favorite guests, and that's Dr. Gerard Lamero, and all things politics. Boy, we're going to get into a lot. I want to thank you for tuning in and remind you that when we wrap up the program, we always say the way things were are the way things ought to be. And the 4 words that mean the most to us: in God we trust. I certainly hope all is well with you and your family, and we'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 8:06. Zeb at the Ranch, you have a good one.